Hi, everyone. I am very excited to introduce our next guest. His name is Kevin Oakley. Kevin Oakley is with Do You Convert? Kevin, thanks so much for joining me today. And if you don't mind telling us a little bit about Do You Convert and kind of your journey through the whole building industry, how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. Do You Convert is an online sales and marketing consulting / agency. We don't really like the agency word, but we do some things that look and feel like an agency. But we partner with builders all over the country of all different sizes. Started by Mike Lyon about 5, maybe up to 7 years before I joined him. And prior to that, I worked for 3 different home building companies. I started with Miranda Homes, a small little billion-dollar builder that a lot of people haven't heard of.
No, a little billion-dollar company.
And then went to work with a semi-custom builder in Pittsburgh named Heartland Homes, which was then acquired by NVR.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time, I started out in the marketing side, ended up getting involved in sales training, sales management. And then once NVR acquired the company, the family rode off into the sunset with their millions of dollars and left me in charge. So I did that for 2 years, and then I joined Mike. And now we've got a team of 5, 6 people on the team at Do You Convert. And so all we do all the time is talk to people on camera like this and help them with their online sales and marketing programs.
Great. And you guys also have a podcast, right? Can you tell everyone where they can download that?
Absolutely. You can go to marketproofmarketing.com or look up Marketproof Marketing on the podcast service of your choice. Andrew Peak, who we call the ad doctor, actually he came up with that name himself, but I loved it.
Wow, that's very public of him, huh? The ad doctor.
He's good. He is that good.
It fits. Love that. All right. Yeah. So you guys, Kevin was one of the people that I've seen all over social media. We're have a lot of very similar friends, and we've connected online, but never actually met in person until this year's International Builder Show. So it was my first show, and so Kevin, I'm sure you've been there before, right?
I think this was my 10th time. 2007, wow. I think was my first year. So whatever that math is, 12.
So is it still as magical the 10th time as it is the first time?
It is, absolutely, just for slightly different reasons. There's, of course, fewer educational things that we take away because it's what we're doing day in and day out. There are still, of course, a handful of things every year that you come across thinking, I'm glad I went just for that. But after about your 5th year, it really becomes all about the people that you're seeing and being able to meet new folks like we were able to connect this year and see the people that you've known for a long time, but you just don't get a chance to shake hands with or give a hug to. So it becomes more about the people, I would say, after year 5 for sure.
Yes, it was, you know what, I thought it was going to be all about the educational sessions for me this time, but I decided to just kind of like take a breath. And I was like, wow, I just want to absorb everything and meet the people. So I'm glad I did that.
And win an award, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And pick up your trophy.
That's the best part about it. So who was your favorite person that you got to meet at the show this year?
Oh, of course, you were awesome.
Well, not counting.
Made me feel very inadequate.
Please.
Got on some amazing shoes for those of you who didn't. Maybe you can put a picture up or something of those. And then Chad Santagrin is another person who I've interacted with over the past year and a half online. But man, is he tall? Like,
well, it kind of cut off when you said the name.
Oh, Chad Santagrin.
Chad. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to connect with him in person. We keep missing each other. So yeah, he's definitely one of the people I want to connect with.
And there's so many people there, it can definitely happen. But holy cow, he like if he's there, you'll see him because he's enormous.
Really?
But also just it's been fun to watch his journey. Trying to work at the builder show. I don't know if you ever saw, there was a video that he posted about 2 years ago where he was like sitting on a tree stump somewhere and just pouring his heart out like, I really want to talk at the builder show. And so I'm part of his fan club that is rooting him on in all things, but especially just like get that guy on stage because he's great.
Absolutely. Did you do any presentations this year?
Yeah, I had 2 different sessions, one on social media. One was kind of a Saturday Night Live skit with my good friends Will Duderstadt, Dennis O'Neill, and Lucy from Zillow. And then we had a couple other presentations from the Do You Convert team. So it was nice this year to be able to take a bit of a step back, like you said, and just kind of hang out and also play hobbyist photographer because it's a passion of mine too.
So it's not just eating a chicken feet with Will, huh?
No, that was awful.
What was that all about?
Especially awful for Will because he put the entire chicken foot in his mouth.
Oh.
I just nibbled the toe.
No, not fun. And so were you able to attend any sessions at all this year or not really?
Yeah, no, I was. Andrew Garberson did a session on Google Data Studio, which is one of our passions, just making great dashboards with a free tool there. That was in Tech Bytes. And then I didn't actually get to attend this session because it was the same time that the ad doctor was talking. But I have to, I'm going to pull up these notes here that someone else took of a session with Larry Webb. He was the CEO of John Lang Homes. And I think he made the largest sale ever. It was like $2 billion to the Saudis right before the crash. He's like a hero of mine too.
Wow. Okay.
So these are the 7 lessons you can learn from Larry. Okay. Number 7 is listen first. Number 2 or 6 is if you cuss, mean it. I think that's hilarious. You can always improve. Don't take yourself too seriously. Those that can do and those that can do better, teach. Use research to drive people, process, and product, and it is never too late to fall in love. But I wish I could have attended that one, but I did get to a few.
Yeah. So for somebody who has maybe never attended the Builder Show, what would you say, like, top 3 tips if they're thinking about going next year?
Number 1 is ignore the floor. Did you go on the floor at all this year?
Do you mean the booths?
Yeah, the sea of booths.
Yeah, I was literally like a cadet walking around because I had a couple of stops that I needed to make. And I was with my map and a GPS app, and I literally could not find anybody. Yeah. It was insane. Yeah, you can spend.
So just avoid that entirely until your last day or the last half day that you're there. Then you can go explore. But they need to take one step further on the app. It shows you where a booth is, but it has to do like Waze or GPS.
How to get there. I agree with you.
It's that big. So just save that until the end. 2 would be just hanging out between Tech Byte room and the Sales Central rooms, if nothing else. If you're not sure where to go at any point in time, just go back to one of those 2 rooms and you're going to run into a lot of great people. And then the 3rd is find a buddy. If you didn't come with a buddy, make some new buddies at one of those 2 rooms and go to dinner, just hang out, because you're trying to make connections that you can pull from throughout the rest of the year, not just go and see this event as a sales opportunity or a network at a job, but just make some connections for people you can say, hey, I need some help. What do you think about this? Because otherwise, unless you're in one of the big top 25 builders, you're probably a department of 1 or 2. So it's nice to have some friends.
Yes, love that. And so you were heading out for a week to Guatemala, right?
Yeah, we are. If you hear a large bang, it's because someone dropped a 60-pound suitcase on the floor outside. We're packing up. I'm only allowed to bring a carry-on, portion of a carry-on about this big with my clothes. The rest is all supplies and things to give away. So, yeah.
So do you mind telling us real quick about your mission? What is it that you're doing out there, and what can we do to help?
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. So my wife went to high school with a gentleman who now runs 3 going on 4 different feeding centers in remote villages of Guatemala. And people don't starve to death, but it is the 3rd most malnourished country in the world because all they eat is corn. And so because all they're eating is corn and corn syrup and corn products, because they can get that from the fields, their growth is stunted. They have a lot of different health issues and obviously not a great quality of life. So it doesn't sound like much, but he's providing vitamin-enriched rice and beans 3 times a week to the children in these villages that are able to go to school, and then helping build homes and shelters for people as much as possible, get clean water, just all that stuff. And so a couple of years ago, I think we were looking for an organization that we could obviously donate to financially, but also be involved as a family and go back and see regularly. And so this will be our 2nd time down there. I'll definitely include a link for you to add to the show notes, and you can go there to sponsor a child or to sponsor any of the programs that they're doing there. But it's just really great to be able to go back to the same place and show your kids that not everyone has screen time for 4 hours a day, let alone a good meal.
They don't have it so bad over here, huh? I have the worst life, Mom. Like, I'll show you the worst life. So
Exactly.
that's so great that you're doing that, and yeah, definitely share the link with me so I can share it, and hopefully we can help out as well. And Kevin, if somebody wants to connect with you more, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
I worked really hard for a long time to be able to say this. Just Google Kevin Oakley and
Nice.
should
Okay.
come up #1 in your search, or just go to doyouconvert.com, click on team members, and connect with all of us. We're all here to help and share any way we can.
That's amazing. Well, Kevin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today and you sharing your experience at the International Builder Show. And I hope I see you next year.
Absolutely.
Or even before that, maybe, right? Somewhere.
Yeah. PCBC. Why not there?
PCBC. There you go. So it'd be nice to get away. Hopefully the weather would be better too. So
it definitely will not snow there.
All right, Kevin. I will talk to you soon. Enjoy your trip and continue to kick butt.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye. Well, hi, everyone. We have our next guest on, Kimberly Mackey. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
Kimberly is with New Home Solutions, and I refer to her lovingly as my fairy godmother. So,
that's sweet.
So Kimberly is a veteran in the industry, and she's been to many of the International Builder shows. So how many have you been to exactly?
I think I figured it out. This was my 17th year. I think I missed 1 year. So I've been going since they were in Atlanta.
Wow, that's incredible.
So I started when I was 5.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's crazy. So what keeps you coming back year after year?
You can't. You just can't overstate the energy at IBS. You know, it's a refresher. It's a hectic, crazy week that exhausts us, and you know, I come home sick half the time from them, just from all the hugs. But you know, it's like a one giant family reunion. So if you can have a family reunion with 100,000 people, you know, that's kind of what it's like.
I love that. That's exactly how I felt. It was like, oh my goodness, it was so awesome to see everyone in one spot, meet so many people. So what would you say were some of the highlights from this year's show for you?
So for me, you know, I have to say that the energy from people, because talking to people in Q4 of last year, the energy had started to go down a little bit. And this year, people were more optimistic. They were actually looking for solutions. They were embracing some new and different things. I mean, I think there was a lot of interest in technology and how technology can help them. And, you know, it was just, I was very encouraged, I guess, by seeing everyone's energy and optimism for the year.
I couldn't agree more with you. It's so refreshing to see that energy live, right? Because a lot of the times when you turn on the news, it's like they're preaching doomsday and you're like, what the heck? This is not what I'm seeing. And it was refreshing to see so many other people in the industry kind of saying the same thing, that things are going great and they're very positive and optimistic about what's to come. So yay for the building industry.
Yay for the building industry. Well, I got an opportunity to sit down. I do some consulting for one of the big research firms, and they like to get my analytical, you know, my take of, you know, what's really going on the street, because of course by the time they get all of their analysis and everything in, it's 2 or 3 months in arrears. So they want to know what's happening right now, and that was one of the things that I was able to sit down with them and have a quick meeting and talk about that vibe and what people are saying and compare that to the data that they had. And they were really starting to see that data already on the uptick. So I think 2019 is going to be a really good year.
I think so too. And actually, I spoke to a loan officer today, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, it's February, but I feel like it's March." And the number of loans that they have in their in the backlog, and how many new applications are coming in. So he was also very excited for the spring market to come. So that's great news for all of us.
Exactly.
So last question for you, Kimberly. So who was there a particular person that you got to meet this year that you were the most excited to meet?
That I got to meet this year? Well, you and I got to spend a lot of time together, so that was really exciting.
We were roomies, so that was cool.
And we've just gotten to know each other over the last 6 or 7 months, so that's pretty exciting. I really just got to see a lot of people that I only get to see once a year. It's nice to run into my colleagues and my peers, and bring some new ones in. I spoke with Will Duderstadt and Chris Hartley, and both just absolutely phenomenal. It was a great presentation on the customer experience funnel. That to me was the real highlight, and not just even the fact that I was up there speaking, but just the collaboration and everything that we did to put that on, and how it all came together was super exciting for me. But yeah, to run into Meredith and Mike and Mike Lyons, Jeff Shore, the list just goes on. That's the one time a year that we're all in one spot, and it's always really, really nice to run into them.
Yes. So I said, obviously, on your presentation, and was completely blown away. You guys had such a great energy between Will and Chris and you. So it sounds like you guys spent some time rehearsing ahead of time, getting to know each other a little bit, because you were very, in the groove, jamming together very well.
I thought we played off of each other really well, and the presentations were very complimentary. They really built, and yeah, we did. We worked on it for quite a while, but a lot of it just that was right in our bailiwick. That's what we live and breathe and do every day. So it's great to get to talk about that and help people who that might be something that they're struggling with. The customer experience for our industry has been one of those areas that people do struggle. How do we maintain the dream and the vision all the way through to the reality? Yes. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm sure the more you go to these shows, it's like it becomes even more special, because now you have built those relationships with these people for so many years that seeing them year after year after year, it's got to be like, oh my gosh, it's like you really are a family.
You really, Keith McKinney from New Home Star is somebody that I met at Sales Central, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago. And so we've joked for years that we have to have our annual hug. So literally that is all we had time to do this year, was to give each other a hug. Now, fortunately, he's moved not too far from me in Orlando, Florida. So occasionally I get a Keith McKinney sighting here in Florida. But it is like family. So he always says, I say he's a brother from another mother. So.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's all we have time for today. So thank you so much for a quick recap, and we will talk to you soon. And can you tell everyone, if they wanted to connect with you personally, where should they go?
Great. Thank you. Yes, it's New Homes, HOMES, Solutions with an S.com. newhomesolutions.com, or they can email me directly at kmackey, Mackey, at newhomesolutions.com.
And
so just make sure there's 2 S's in the middle.
And of course, I'll link all of that in the show notes, so you guys will have access to Kimberly for more of the goodness. So, all right, Kimberly, it's been a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks again, Anya. Bye-bye.
Well, our next guest for today is Spencer Powell with Builder Funnel. So welcome to the show, Spence.
Thanks so much. Yeah, glad to be here.
If you don't mind telling us really quickly about yourself and your company.
Sure. Yeah. So Spencer with Builder Funnel, we're a digital marketing agency, and we help the construction industry get more performance out of their websites. So we do a lot of social media, SEO, but we also spend a lot of time on lead conversion, and our main goal is leads and revenue. So that's just a little bit about us.
Awesome. So obviously we finally got a chance to meet each other at the IBS as well. So how many times have you been to the show before?
I've only been a few times, and I hadn't been in a little bit, so it was good to kind of go back and reconnect, and the show has definitely grown since I was there last. I think I kept hearing 100,000, but I don't know if everyone was just saying that because it sounded cool.
I think that's what, and then they had some kind of a follow-up afterwards, and they said it was record number, and they did say 100,000, but I also heard 70,000 somewhere, so I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just call it 100.
Yeah, 100,000 sounds good, so. Definitely. So what was your favorite part about the show this year?
It's interesting. The educational sessions are always good, and walking the floor is always good. But this year it was just meeting people. I feel like, we've been pretty active online and had a podcast. And so that's connected us with a lot of people that we finally got to meet in person, just like the two of us, where you've maybe seen them online. And so it was just really nice to put face to face and shake hands and just spend some time with people that you kind of just get to know online.
Yeah, I said the same thing. For me, like I had like a whole list of all the sessions I was going to go to and ended up going to one session. So
there you go.
But it just how it turned out. I was, meeting all these people, and it was just so much fun. So
yeah, I know it's tough to do everything when you're there because there's just so much to do.
It really is. I'm like, oh, and I saw the invite for next year already. I'm like, oh man, okay.
Yeah, get the early bird pricing right.
Right? Because we're going. So, all right. So who was your favorite person that you got to meet, or I guess the most fascinating person that maybe somebody unexpected?
That's a good question. I definitely bumped into several people, but I think one of my favorite, I guess, encounters was actually I connected with Todd DeWalt, and he runs a podcast called Construction Leading Edge. And we had exchanged a few emails and didn't really necessarily plan on meeting up, but he kind of just bumped into me at the bookstore. And then he said, hey, we're getting a group of podcasters together tomorrow morning. Do you want to just connect for a few minutes? And we ended up talking for like an hour and a half with a couple of people. So, yeah, I think things like that are what's cool about these events is that that wasn't a planned encounter. It just happened, and then it led to another thing. And so now a few of us are talking about some ways that we could do some cool things. So yeah, that was probably my favorite encounter, so to speak. But met lots of fun people.
That's awesome. I haven't heard of Todd, so I'll have to definitely check him out.
Yeah, definitely do.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. It's like you never know when you're standing in line somewhere or something, and then suddenly somebody turns around and starts chatting with you, and next thing you know, it's some big deal standing next to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been meaning to talk to you or to meet you for so long. So
yeah,
all right,
absolutely. Cool. And I think we get buried in our phones a lot too, just because, a lot of times either you're shy or you just don't want to interrupt somebody. But, a lot of times some of the best conversations are like you sit down in a session, you just turn and say, hey, I'm from Colorado, where are you from? And then it just kind of goes from there. And I don't know, that serendipity thing, it seems to work out because you're like, oh, wow, what are the odds that you and I started talking? So definitely recommend that for people in the future.
Yes, I definitely believe that. So if somebody was to think about going to a show next year, are there any tips that you would recommend? It's kind of like you've been there, done that, like is anything surprising or, like make sure to do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's good to have a game plan going in because there is so much. So I think if you don't, you can just kind of end up wandering and, you'll end up just killing a lot of time, and you might still have a great time and bump into some cool people. But I think it's nice to have a game plan. So like look at your agenda, see if there's a few people you want to meet up at, maybe pick one or two of the nightly activities and kind of flag those, but then be open to just kind of that serendipity, like, oh, I bumped into somebody, oh, they're going here tonight. Sure, I'll roll, with them and do that, and just being open to changing your plan. But if you don't go in with a plan, you might just get lost and wander, and I don't know that you'll get as much out of it.
Yeah, especially if you start wandering on the exhibition floor. That's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, you can get lost in just some of the individual booths that these guys set up.
It's really literally crazy, like huge tents. So speaking of the nightlife, I mean, it's definitely so jam-packed because you can go in early in the morning, spend all day there, and then it continues into the night. So were there some evening events that you were able to attend other than your podcasters thing?
Yeah, actually, that was the main one that I did. I ended up doing that. I'm kind of a little bit on the lame side when it comes to the nightly events. I crash and I get up early and hit the gym. And so, yeah, I was glad that somebody was like, hey, we're meeting early in the morning. Like, great, I'll be there for that. If somebody's down for an early breakfast, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's, I was proud of myself because I did try to go to some evening events, and obviously the Nationals, was in the evening as well and all that. So, but I was like, when is it polite to leave? Especially I was at the Young Pro event, and it was at a nightclub at a Bellagio. It was like, I forgot what the name of the nightclub is. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel way too old to be here. Like the music's pumping, like I can't hear a thing. My ears hurt. And I'm like, geez, what happened to me? So yeah, I was in bed by, 1:00 every night, I'd say, which I was like, okay, well, at least I hung a little bit. So
that's pretty good. Yeah, you made it a lot farther than I did. So.
Good. All right, Spencer. Well, thank you so much for being part of this little podcast. I thought it would be great for people to hear about different people, different experiences, their take on the show. So I appreciate your time, and I look forward to catching up on our extended version. So you guys, Spence is going to be on the New Construction Marketing Podcast, and we're going to talk more details about all the things he does for the builders, and hopefully you'll learn a lot of information from him. So.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Yeah, hopefully there's 1 or 2 tips there that'll help people for next year. And yeah, thanks again for having me on.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
Bye. All right, you guys, for our next guest, I'm very excited to have Pierrette Tierney back on. She was a guest on one of the shows before, and we were lucky enough to reconnect at IBS this year. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Yes, thank you so much for doing this for me. I appreciate it. So how many times have you been to IBS before?
So I've been to IBS about 5 times. Definitely prefer it when it's in Vegas, just because I've always been a West Coast girl, so it doesn't require flying all the way to Orlando. This year's show, as many people probably already know, was just the biggest I've ever been to. Tons of floor room space. I mean, I don't think I even got around the entire showroom. Got a lot of steps in, so that was always good.
Yes, and you were actually manning one of the booths at the show, right?
I was there. I sit on the board for an AI chatbot tech company that's actually based out of Park City, where I am. And so they brought a team and had a booth, and I got to spend some time with them, Atlas RTX, and it was a great experience. Got to meet a lot of new people around the country.
Yes, and I was also fortunate enough to meet the CEO, Bassam, and we were standing in line next to each other at Sales Central, and you know, you never know who you're standing next to. So you just turned around and started chatting, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're the, you know.
You're the guy I was supposed to meet.
Yes, exactly. So
in a crowd of 100,000 people, and you end up in line next to the guy I've been trying to get you to meet for a month.
Yeah, exactly. So it's such a small world, and I always think it's funny when those types of moments happen, and it's like there's no coincidences. So
absolutely.
So for somebody. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I didn't get to go to the Nationals, but you had a big award this year, right?
I did. I keep joking that my statue is like right next to me at all times. So I'm like,
Oscar.
You know, I know it's like Oscar/Emmy. I'm like obsessed with it. So yeah, I mean, I literally felt like a Cinderella at the ball. It was crazy. And I keep thinking like, what do I need to do for next year now? It's like, gosh, how do I top that experience, you know?
That's amazing. Well, congratulations.
And congratulations to you too. You made it to 40 under 40, right?
I know. I was joking. I think they took pity on me probably because this is my last opportunity. I turned 40 in November.
Stop it. Don't minimize yourself. You know, you're a rock star. You're everywhere. So, of course, it's
awesome.
Well deserved by you. So,
thank you.
And it's such a great company too this year.
Absolutely. You know, like it's really fun that this year I actually know so many other people on the list that I've met through different conferences and the Women in Residential Construction and International Builder Show, and even some of my former friends and coworkers from various companies. So,
yeah. So speaking of meeting people, that was probably one of my favorite things about the show is that you just get to meet all these people that you're friends with on Facebook, on Instagram, and then it's like, oh, okay, so
face the name.
Yeah. So was there a person that you got to meet this year at IBS that I guess was like the most fascinating person for you, or you know, you really hit it off with, or
you know, there's a handful of people that have kind of been in my network that I've never met in person. But one that I always love to see that I have met in the past, my husband was member of the new home company, and I went to CEO Larry Webb's presentation. And I don't know if you've ever seen Larry, but he is just charismatic, very genuine, you know, throws cuss words occasionally into his presentation. He's just very real. And so it was fun and great to see him again.
Nice. So speaking of the sessions, did you get a chance to attend any other sessions this year?
You know, I actually was speaking at 2 different sessions. So one, I was on a panel with Chris Hartley, which was really fun, kind of a group of almost 40 under 40, you know, a little bit more of a millennial take on the future and disruption in home building. And then I spoke on kind of design and how important design is from the very beginning of a land development project through the architectural design, interior design, and having now had the gamut of production home building experience to what I'm doing now with really high-end custom. It was just fun to kind of talk about design through all of those different price points and buyer demographics.
Oh, I'm sure you see some crazy design ideas, especially in Park City, Utah. I mean, with the landscape, and you can really, I mean, I can only imagine the kind of homes that you guys build. So
yeah, it's been really fun. Like, so this was my 2nd year going to IBS with Magleby Construction. In the past, I had always gone with Pulte Homes or Taylor Morrison, or, you know, a builder that is more in a production environment. So the type of products that you're looking for and the type of, you know, items, I guess, that would make sense for you as a builder in a production environment are just so different from, you know, now I get to go look at these incredible automated sliding glass doors that are 20 feet high, panes of glass, and, you know, really like the budget limit is in a very different realm now. So it's just fun to get to experience some of those products that you never used to even like be able to touch.
yes, that's crazy. And I mean, the kind of, and some of the exhibitors had such crazy elaborate setups that was like, you know, 2 stories high, and like, oh my gosh, it
blew me away. So one of my favorites, I don't know if you got over to it, but it's an appliance company that I've been introduced to since being at Magleby. It's called Fisher and Paykel, and they are actually a New Zealand brand. Their booth was stunning. It looked like they built a little mini like restoration hardware inside the convention center. And then they flew in their team from New Zealand, and they were serving local New Zealand, like kind of appetizers and foods and different.
Oh, that's fun.
And they all had adorable accents. Right. And it was just like such an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like any extra flair they can add, obviously it's going to be so memorable for somebody. So
yeah, right.
So for somebody who's never been to the show and maybe they're thinking about attending next year, what would you recommend? Maybe like your top 3 tips for whether it's packing, outfits, you know, or attending sessions, planning, like from your experience, what would you say? Like you've been there, done that, learned, and now, okay, this is how you do it.
Well, as you know, this year's packing was totally unpredictable. It snowed in Las Vegas when we were there. So yeah, packing wise, I'd say just bring a diversity of business casual to pretty formal, because you'll tend to get invited sometimes even last minute to some of the after party kind of scenes, and it's very much cocktail attire. But I think probably one of the biggest things is try to find lodging as close to the convention center as possible. This year we had a great place right across the street, so we could walk to the convention center, and it just gets crowded and jam-packed and you can't get Ubers. And so anything you can do to mitigate your distance from the hall will help. And then really it was all about planning out your day. There's so much to see and do that, in my opinion, you start by backing into the education sessions that really you think are going to be a best fit for you and that you don't want to miss. And then kind of map them out as well, because if they're in the North Hall versus the South Hall, it's like a 2-mile walk. So you really got to plan. And so, yeah, I think you do the education sessions, back into those, and then fill your open windows of time by just being able to walk around the convention.
Yeah, that's great tips. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time. I know you're super busy, and it's always such a pleasure to see you. And we got to get Nicole on the show. My goodness, actually, we ran into each other at the Young Pro Party.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's right. You guys sent me a photo. That was so fun.
Yeah. So
she's just outside and she was waving at me through our glass.
Okay. Well, you got to tell her to get her signed up because I feel like I'm stalking her. So yeah, I can't wait to catch up with her. But it was funny at the at that Young Pro party. It was at the Hyde nightclub, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so old to be here. Like, I was like, when can I leave? You know, it's like so loud and crazy.
Yeah. I started my career in Las Vegas in my 20s at Pulte Homes, and I am definitely not up to that level anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine like being in your 20s in Vegas, that could be very dangerous. So
very dangerous, but
very things like I'm extra proud of you that you turned out so well. Like, you know,
I could have gone a very different path.
Yes, definitely. So, all right, Pierrette. Well, thank you so much for being on again. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anya.
Bye.
Bye.